Anyone? Yes, in the back right there.
This might be like a question for like up and coming filmmakers type of thing. Like, what would you tell yourself pre-feature in maybe the writing phase or leading up to principal photography? Like, what's something that you know now that you would maybe want to tell yourself, a year ago before you had started shooting?
Sure. Well, thank you for
Repeat
the
that question real quick.
what would if I could do it all over again, what would I tell someone?
Or what would you tell Jamie a year and a half ago before you filmed the film? Like, what would you tell yourself?
I would say, don't freak out. I think what I'd mostly say is really be cognizant of your resources. For example, we had a ton of locations on Stay Awake, and this is getting a little inside baseball, but we had I think 3.5 weeks, something like that, for pre-pro. We spent probably 70% of our time just location scouting. So things like that, just being really cognizant of what are your actual resources, and not being afraid to ask your producers to be hard on you in terms of what's feasible. Because I didn't know. I knew locations would be a thing. I didn't realize that it's not really a thing in production. It's really a thing in pre-pro. You're spending all your pre-pro time having to go and look at places, things like that. It's really a collaboration, and find great producers. Find a great team of people who are very experienced with indie films. That's really the secret sauce for Stay Awake. Is we had an incredible team, and we had great actors. Those were the sort of the two big things that I think made this film work the way it did.
Any other questions? Yes, sir, right here in the front.
Can you
Hold
talk?
on 1 second. Because you're so close.
Can you talk about casting Chrissy? When did she come in, and about the casting process?
Sure.
Talking about the casting process and when CREE came in.
Sure. Yeah, for Chrissy, Chrissy was a very deliberate choice for me. I kind of like I was saying earlier. Most of the time, addicts are sort of portrayed a certain way. They're demonized. And when we were talking to casting directors or agents, they would all give the same 3 or 4 names of people, many of which have played addicts before. And I really wanted to humanize the addict. And I thought that Chrissy was such a strong choice for me because she has a warmth. There's an integrity to her that I think people know from This Is Us and from other things that she's done. And she's just an incredibly affable person. She's just so sweet. And I thought that would sort of juxtapose how most people sort of look at an addict. And so that's why I very aggressively went after her.
Yes, right there.
This is a question for Wyatt. So, when it comes to really deep and intense scenes, like the elevator scene, how do you channel all of that emotion to make it seem more authentic?
Great question. Thank you. It is authentic. Is my answer really. For that scene specifically. Like I said earlier, that was the one that I was most scared of doing. And leading up to that, my anxiety about that scene, I know I talked to you about it, and I just really didn't want to let Jamie down and ruin that scene. And I remember my mom was with me on set, and usually when I was younger, she would be the one to help me get to an emotional state and whatever. And we were trying in the church of the hospital for a little while, and it just wasn't working. And then I started freaking out because time was running short. They had the shot ready, and I didn't feel prepared. And my mom was like, "Okay, good, you're ready." And she sent me in, and I had a real panic attack in the elevator, and that's how we got it. But generally, I don't know. I feel like as I grow older and as I get more experienced with acting, I find new ways to channel that emotion depending on what character and what they're feeling. And I think building kind of almost false memories within my own headspace has actually become really helpful for me in believing myself. And because for me, I feel like the most important thing is to be authentic, and if you can convince yourself you're feeling a certain way, other people will also believe you. So I try to go by that kind of standard and logic, and I don't know if it works, but I'm winging it, and I don't know.
It works.
Yeah.
Where in the schedule was that? Was that like in the beginning, in the middle, toward the end?
Jamie so graciously put it near the end.
That's
Because
great.
you knew. And being able to slowly develop the character over time was extremely helpful. Like if we had done that near the start, that would have not been the same scene. And I really appreciated that.
That's very, very smart. Good job, Jamie. Anyone else? Yeah, right there, sir.
Yeah. Just want to say it's a beautiful movie, so thank you and congratulations.
Thanks.
And Jamie, you said talked earlier about burnout going after the short. I was wondering if you could talk more about going from short to feature and when you felt like you have that story that could make this movie we saw today.
So the question is going short to feature, basically that journey, maybe go a little bit more into, anything very specific about it, just in terms of like how he came to it, or?
Yeah, your personal process. I've made shorts and been told you should make a feature, and so I'm just curious to hear about that development.
Okay.
Sure. For me, it took me a minute to really commit. I really didn't want to go down that road again. And I really don't think I'm probably going to make anything like this again. Not so directly personal to my childhood. The thing I like about art, though, is that who knows in the next 5 years what crazy things will happen, right? And then you have this incredible tool that you can use to sort of make sense of it and hopefully help others make sense of it. It took me a minute. I remember journaling a lot about it and just writing. I don't like writing on a computer, especially on first drafts, because I get really distracted. Like 5 minutes will pass by and I'll be on some website for an hour. So I do a lot of that, and then that slowly manifested into some sort of screenplay. And then I had a lot of institutional support. The Sundance Institute was great. They did a live read pretty early on, which sort of put the script on its feet. They had great actors. That helped me sort of understand where holes were, what was working, what wasn't. I would really encourage, that's a really great tool people don't do enough. It's just live reads, table reads in general. And then you get notes. You get tons and tons of notes, more notes than you probably want. And but it's great because people are poking holes. Now that I've kind of come full circle, this is my first narrative feature. I appreciate the notes because people, critics are going to see your film, right? And it's nice to sort of understand where people are going to feel where you're soft, and then you can make choices, right? Like there's some very deliberate choices I made that I knew would be maybe misunderstood by some people or whatever, but at least you feel empowered at that point. That's what notes do, I think, for you. They empower you to make deliberate decisions, regardless of what people think.
Any other questions? Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I think I just want to express like my gratitude for this movie. I think even for the two gentlemen, like it was so relatable. I've been on both ends. I've been through addiction. I have family who's still suffering from that. Now I'm on the other end where I am a substance abuse counselor, which really is interesting because and it's just weird how this aligned, like with you guys speaking, and then like today I finally spoke to my brother that I haven't spoke to in years, and he's in prison. So the spirituality of the aspect of recovery. I mean, there's just so much I love the fact how, and it leaves me questioning, and I encourage you to do more, Jamie. I think it would be really good, that awareness to bring out just the understanding and to humanize the addict, because there's so many choices that we've made why can't you just get it right? Because it don't work like that. Mm-hmm. And then just when the kids were just flipping off the sign of the doctor, there's so many people who really understand, you're just signing off a prescription and things. It's just amazing. And I don't know, it felt really, I hope you do more work on this, and I'm glad that you're here, I guess, to say, because you mentioned at the beginning that, you know, you went through this, and I'm just wondering what happened, what's the rest of the story, you know? Yeah,
Sure.
it's just great.
Well, I really, really appreciate all of that deeply, and I will say this letter honestly, or this film is honestly just a love letter to you and to people who are caretakers or who work in the industry or who are addicts. It means a lot to me for you to say that, so I really appreciate that. And maybe I will explore it more. I might need a quick break, but in terms of what happened, my brother, Evan is his name, went and served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a Marine Corps medic, and is now in PA school to become a physician's assistant. I'm here obviously, and then my mom has had a lot of struggles. She did great, and then she didn't, and you know she relapsed last year for a pretty long duration, and then or a year and a half ago, I don't know, somewhat soon, and now she's doing the best that I've seen her in a decade, you know, and I think that's, as you know, that's the patience you have to have as a caretaker to continuously be there, and to be a support and to hope that they can see their way through it. I'm immensely proud of her, immensely proud of how selfless she's been too in terms of being open to letting this film get out there in the world. She's a big believer in you know, in the good that stories can sort of do for these subjects. Sure.
Has your mom seen this movie?
Yeah, she saw it, and that was tough. That was really, really tough. But again, she's so selfless, and you know, as you can imagine, right? Your parents have a lot of power over you, and she could make this very difficult for me. But she sees the benefit of stories like this to the community, and she's really stepped aside, and I think she's proud of it now too. You know, she sends me reviews now all the time, and I'm like, thanks, Mom. So I know she's engaged.
And Jamie, I know it, like you're saying, it's so hard sometimes to turn inward and tell those stories, but I think as filmmakers, the best stories are the ones that are personal to us because we can tell them in a way that is so authentic and real. And I feel like when I watch this movie, I learned so much about you, but I learned so much about other people who are going through things. So I just think, like, I know it's hard, but I just think it's such a beautiful movie and such a beautiful story that you told. And I think the gentleman that asked about, making his short to feature, I hope it's personal to you, because the more that it's personal to you, the more you're going to be able to tell that story. And I think that's such an important thing as we go off to tell stories as filmmakers, as artists, that we find things that really, like, we can sort of grab onto. Is there anyone else with a question? No? I think that was a beautiful way to end it. Let's. I really appreciate everybody up here to just stay awake. Please, you know what? Spread the word to friends and family. This film is playing for the rest of the week here, so please tell people. And as it comes out on streaming or digital or whatever, let people know. That's how independent films get out there and get seen. And Jamie, congratulations.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you all very much.